Random House Audio presents the Sweet Potato Queen's Field Guide to Men. Every man I love is either married, gay, or dead. This is the author, Jill Connor Browne. Getting started. Every man I love is either married, gay, or dead. If being a mother is like being pecked to death by a duck, and don't we all know that's true, then being a wife or girlfriend or somebody's significant other must be more like, well, what is it like? How best to describe this relationship? As so often happens when I come up against a tough question, my thoughts turn to Daddy and his stock of growing up stories, and as usual, Daddy came through. As a young man, Daddy used to visit a certain bootlegger's establishment in Attala County, Mississippi. Since Mississippi was legally dry until 1968, everybody knew the local bootlegger and where to find him. The bootlegger's wife had a medium-sized monkey that she kept as a pet and doted on like it was blood kin. One day, when Daddy happened by to make a purchase, for medicinal purposes only, I imagine, Mr. Bootlegger was nowhere to be found, but Mrs. Bootlegger shouted through the screen door that Daddy should come on in and she'd help him. No sooner had Daddy crossed the threshold than something dropped from the sky, actually the sill above the door, and landed with a very loud shriek, its little grabby hands and feet on the back of Daddy's young and tender neck. With no thought or planning whatsoever, Daddy reached up and back, grasping whatever it was and flinging it as hard and fast as he could against the far wall. The first time he actually saw his assailant was when it landed smack against the wall in a sort of plastered-out spread-eagle position. Then it slid silently down the wall, leaving a pitiful trail of urine to mark its descent. It was, of course, the monkey. Well, needless to say, much weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth ensued, from Mrs. Bootlegger, and also from the monkey as soon as he roused himself. Daddy thought it best to flee the premises post-haste, without pressing further his own desire for a drink, although, truth be told, the incident had considerably heightened the urge. What, you may well ask, does this have to do with the issue at hand, that being relationships between men and women? Over the course of my own personal love life, I have played the role of the innocent and unsuspecting one, bounding goofily along, happily trusting that all was right with the universe, and fully expecting all my needs and desires to be fulfilled, only to be blindsided by something singularly unpleasant and often life-altering, the metaphorical flying monkey, if you will. I've even been the monkey, too, once or twice. In childlike exuberance, I have dropped unbidden and unwelcome into a situation and found myself whizzing through the air, smashing into the wall, and landing with a thud on the floor in a befouled heap of my own emotions. With no small degree of shame, I must also admit to putting myself, maybe without malice, but certainly not without a forethought, into situations I had no business being in, and, karma being what it is, received the much-deserved wall-flinging and then some. I've even been the innocent wall, merely standing by in the wrong place with bad timing, too, when I've suddenly been hit with the flying monkey messes of someone else's creation. And who hasn't been Mrs. Bootlegger, forced to watch in helpless horror as those you love play out some hideous scenario that you know can have no happy ending? Love gone bad is at least interesting, if only in a macabre sort of way. It's surely not boring. Love gone blah is simply death. Slow, torturous, and ultimately longed-for death. When you're mired in a lifeless, life-stifling, life-smothering relationship, you start to take it for granted. Life sucks. Always did, always will, and so you're just hunkered down enduring this relationship. As far as I know, nobody's handing out prizes, tangible or otherwise, for endurance of life its own self. In my experience, if you ignore your life, it will pretty much ignore you right back. I reckon the universe figures why should it bother sending you anything else if you hadn't got any more gumption than that. Prizes are handed out in a continuous stream, however, to folks committed to living. When you finally wake up and look around, you realize that your life has been so bad for so long it's no longer even painful to you. And when you get yourself up on your hind legs and take action, you'll not only wonder how you stood your misery for so long, but you will ask that all-important question, why? Why did you bear that burden for so long when apparently you were wearing the ruby slippers the whole time? It doesn't really matter too much why, as long as you start clicking those heels together and devote a fair amount of time each day to grinning and looking around you. But what are you looking for? What are we all looking for? If it's love, the city animal pound is full of creatures literally dying to love you, and you can have all you can fit in your car anytime you want. No, it's not just love we crave. We're looking for another person to love, and equally important, to be loved by. One without the other just sucks, as in shit through a straw. And we can all testify ad nauseum to that, but no one has voiced our agony better than Casey Jones, the official songstress to the Sweet Potato Queens, when she recorded, "Every man I love is either married, gay, or dead." Casey sings many songs that perfectly describe many aspects of our lives, but we consider this one to be our anthem. Go now to sweetpotatoqueens.com to get your very own copy. Now, we happen to be heterosexual female types. Through no fault of or credit to ourselves, it's just the way we turned out, which is the way these things do happen, by the way. As such, we find that we personally are most interested in loving and being loved by heterosexual male types, and thus we refer in this book almost entirely to this particular branch of humankind. We are fairly sure, however, that the hoops we all jump through in the dance of love are pretty much the same, regardless of our orientation, and so we trust that you will instinctively make the necessary mental adjustments to the characters described herein. I mean, we all have to get ready to go to the dance and find a suitable partner when we get there. It doesn't really much matter who's dancing or how or with whom, now does it? Okay, so we're going to say here that the first step is to find the guy, the one who makes your heart beat a bit faster, your breath come a bit quicker, your knees wobble, your hands tremble, your mouth water, and the ultimate test of true love, or at the very least lust, at first sight, the one who can make you lose your appetite. Oh my God, this is the holy grail of guys. I wish I could find one of these a month, but I don't have to tell you, they are as scarce as hen's teeth. That expression has always intrigued me on account of it implies that roosters do have teeth. It doesn't say scarce as chickens' teeth, it specifically singles out the hens as the ones being toothless. And then it always makes me think how funny chickens of both genders would look if they actually did have teeth. And then I think about the boyfriend of a friend who resembles nothing quite so much as a chicken with teeth. And by now, you can see why it's a good thing that I don't have a real job, because this is really and truly the kind of stuff I think about all day long, no matter what it is that I'm actually supposed to be doing. Okay, so we got to find the guy. Where to look? Well, honey, open your eyes. We are just covered up in guys. Seriously, they are absolutely everywhere. If you were a dead cat-slinging kind of gal, although I sincerely hope you're not, you simply could not do it without hitting multiple guys at every sling. Where do these sayings come from? It's maddening, I swear. If you're looking to buy china, do you go to the hardware store? Likewise, in relationships. If you want an intellectual, quit going to tractor pulls. If you don't want to date a barfly, why aren't you at the opera? Married guys are not your best bet if you're looking for a long-term commitment. Decide what you want, and then weed out all those who don't fit. To aid you in this process, we offer the Sweet Potato Queens Field Guide to Men. Believing, as we do, that you are just like us, we will identify and classify for your edification and enjoyment as many different variations on the man theme as we can think of and some of the potential pitfalls inherent in them. We hope this will help you decide what you want, even if it's by discovering what you don't want so that you end up with the right thing by default. When my good friend Janice Wright learned about this book, she heard the title spoken rather than saw it written, and the question that immediately popped into her somewhat less than virginal mind was, did she say field guide or feel guide? And what an excellent question that is. We purely love to feel men, some more than others, obviously. Feeling of men in general just for sport is highly entertaining for us and for them too, we find. We have discovered that while in the gym, you can walk right up to a guy with a fabulous body and ask if you can feel of him, and his face will just light right up. I'd suggest doing this in groups of at least 2. You run the risk of creating a less than desirable impression if you do it solo, and besides, guys love an audience as much as we do. First, we survey the crop available at any given time for a while, and we try to reach a consensus on who we should feel of first.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?